Just letting you guys know, this video you're watching is a part 2. If you want to see part 1, the link is in the description. The part 1 was about just the Raiders defense, and it was just film study. This one, much more about analytics, so if you're only interested in the analytics, you don't have to watch the first one. You can still watch this one, and they do stand alone, but just letting you know this is a part 2 of a video. But alright, enough about defense. Let's talk about Jon Gruden, and let's talk about some analytics, because I'm a big fan of analytics. I think analytics are the way people are going to start viewing sports as a whole, especially football, in the future. And I think Jon Gruden, quite frankly, has to get with the times when it comes to certain analytical decisions. So, like, in this situation, this was earlier on in the game. This is going to be, it's a 4th down and 5, and they're at the 5-yard line. So, it's still in the first quarter. What's the decision to do here? Do you go for it, or do you kick a field goal? Jon Gruden kicks a field goal. So let's run some numbers. There's 2 options if you go for a touchdown. You get a touchdown or you don't get the touchdown. And there's actually about a 50% chance, it's just slightly over 50% chance that you'll get a touchdown, but we'll just say 50 to keep things nice and round. So obviously, if you scored a touchdown, it's 6.93 points because you have a 93% chance to make the extra point, whereas if you don't get it, that's 0 points, right? That makes obvious sense. However, you have to remember there is also the field position thing at play. So let's say what the point expectancy will be after the Chargers basically start their next drive. So if they score a touchdown, you're expected to get 5.33 points, even with factoring in the Chargers drive and how much their point expectancy would be once they get the ball back at the 25-yard line, or probably around there, because typically most kickoffs end in a touchback. Meanwhile, if you start your drive inside your own 10, then it's only 1.1 points. So basically, this is the difference if you go for a touchdown and get it, as opposed to you don't. You either get 5.33 points or you lose 1.1 points. So it's a big swing. The second you make that decision, 2.12 points is your point expectancy. So that seems like field goal is the right call, right? Field goal is worth 3 points, so sure, a field goal makes sense there, but not quite, because remember, we already factored in the Chargers' next drive into that last formula, so we have to factor it in here as well. This means that after the Chargers' drive, it's basically you have a point expectancy of 1.4 points, which is significantly lower than the point expectancy of if you decided to go for it. Now, I think Jon Gruden and Raiders fans might argue that there actually is a reason for this, and there is. I agree with that. The reason is you're playing the Chargers, a team that you should beat even though they didn't, and so because of that, it's probably not a good idea to run a play that has a 6-point swing. You don't want to have too many plays that are worth too much. You want every play to be worth as little as possible, so that way you have a better chance of beating a team that you believe you're better in. Like, for example, when the Kansas City Chiefs played the Jets, they completely blew them out. But if you were to say that the Jets only had to beat a better team on 5 select plays, now all of a sudden the Chiefs would maybe not want to take that bet, and the Jets would actually have a chance. I do actually think that's a totally fair counter-argument, but my counter-argument to my own counter-argument is that I've seen Jon Gruden do this too many times. And in isolation, it might not be a terrible decision in this game. As a whole, I've seen him make these kind of decisions way too much, when if you have a 4th down and goal inside the 5, you should pretty much always go for it. And while I'm sure Raiders fans, again, will bring up the fact that they have a much worse red zone offense, so it'd be difficult for them to punch it in compared to other teams, I actually don't think that's totally true. They do have a poor red zone offense, but they convert on 3rd downs a lot. They're really good at 3rd down conversions, so I actually think that I could see them being better just in that you have to get it on this play scenario. They also just lost Carr and maybe didn't have that much faith in Mariota. So again, I get it. I understand. There is logic behind it on this play in isolation, but I've seen him make these mistakes too many times. And I'm just pointing out that if you do decide to make this decision, you have to know it is a mistake. And that's okay. You can do that because sometimes it's worth it to make a play that gives you a lower point expectancy, but I've seen him do it too many times. In my opinion, this next one was far worse. This was an overtime. Same scenario. It's a 4th down and goal at the 5-yard line. So again, 50% chance of touchdown, 50% chance of no touchdown. And remember, this is the first drive of overtime. So a touchdown means a 50% chance you win. Great. Sounds good. We all get that. No touchdown, then there's a 53% chance that if you don't score a touchdown, you lose, because the Chargers, that's how often they scored in any capacity against Las Vegas this season. They ended up scoring on 9 of 17 total possessions prior to overtime, so that's what I'm factoring in here. Maybe that's a small sample size. This admittedly isn't an exact science, but I think it's a pretty good tool we can use. There would also be a 28% chance that the Raiders would then get a stop but score on their next possession, so that factors in as well, because they would just need to score then to win. And there's a 19% chance that something else would happen, which means that it would get past that point where the Chargers wouldn't score on their possession and then the Raiders wouldn't score on their possession. Again, not an exact science. The 19% I'm just going to say in my head would be a tie, because there wouldn't be much time left, but it could be something else. Another team could win. That's just something else that could happen, but we're trying to get as much of this data as we possibly can without getting too into the nitty-gritty here. So if this data is right, which it kind of is, kind of isn't, this would now mean that if the Raiders go for a touchdown, it's a 64% chance they win, a 26.5% chance they lose, and a 9.5% chance something else happens. Now let's talk about a field goal. I'm just going to go with it would be a 100% chance that a field goal would be made. I did that the last time as well. The reason I'm doing it, Daniel Carlson is 15 for 15 on field goals in this range, so I'm just going to give it to him, even though that's not exactly how they work. That's what I'm going to do. So if Las Vegas kicked a field goal, it would mean a 47% chance that they win. Again, I'm using the same thing I used for the last formula, so it's fair both sides, and a 41% chance they give up a touchdown and lose, because they've actually given up a touchdown on 7 of the 17 drives against the Chargers so far before overtime. There's only a 12% chance that the Chargers kick a field goal given what they've done so far. They typically score touchdowns or don't score at all. So now what happens when that happens? Well, the game continues. So again, given the time, there's only a few minutes left. I'm going to say that there would only really be time for one possession probably, so that's going to be a 7.2% chance the Chargers win, or excuse me, the Raiders win at that point, and there still is a 4.8% chance something else happens, which would probably be a tie or a Chargers win. So this now means that if you kick a field goal, it's only a 54% chance you win, a much bigger chance you lose, and a smaller chance that something else happens. And if that something else happened, there's a good chance that would be a Chargers loss as well. Comparing these two, there would have been almost a 10% chance greater if John Gruden just went for a touchdown instead of kicking a field goal there. And that might be a little low, because there's a much better, there's much more chance on that side that I'm just sort of leaving out there that I'm not exactly sure what would happen, so I'm just going to leave it there, than there is on the field goal side. So there's clearly a wrong decision here. And again, you can disagree with my numbers. This is not an exact science, as I say, but this math makes sense to me. And this is a huge game management decision, because this is over a 10% difference in what you decide to do. And I just don't agree with it, what he did. I mean, you can argue maybe, again, don't have faith in Mariota, but at this point we know Mariota's played pretty well. And I think it would be good to try and score a touchdown here, especially your defense. There's a good chance you're going to give up a touchdown here. So just go ahead, try to get a touchdown, try to win it right there. He didn't do it. I think it's a mistake. So yeah, that's what I think. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.